We will be free! For when the rising tide is turned in every London quarter, Parliament comes crashing down with Robert's Rules of Order!
All right. So no, I think we're good to go. I don't think we have any intro stuff.
Hi! That's our intro.
Oh, I found a contradiction, I found an ambiguity in the Holy Book.
Are you sure about that?
Oh, I brought it up to the temple.
No, the answer is no, because it's ambiguous.
Well, yeah. I want to ask you though.
Okay.
Okay, it has to do with previous notice, and I thought I just didn't understand it, but I brought it up to the temple, and they were like, "Oh, you have a good point."
You mean Hanuman didn't decide to bash you?
He hasn't weighed in yet.
Oh.
I'm sure when he will, it'll be spicy. But
he must not have been allowed to use his computer yet.
No, he's probably thinking has to go and say, okay, so previous notice. Crap, where was it at? I think it was in motions. I think it was in section 12.
You're the one who found it. I'm not sure what you're
but I've done a million different things. I think it's in section 12.
That's
it is.
amend.
Oh, no, it's under motions then. Hold on. Main motion. So it's in 10?
Yeah.
I think it's under main motions. For previous notice, I'm such an idiot. How can I not remember? I was just... Well, I'm going to go look in the index again. So, previous notice. With call of me. Yeah, around 1050 is where it is.
Okay, what is that in...
Let me find it.
Now we're going to back reference the other way, so we usually do.
It's entitled Previous Notice of Motions.
Previous Notice of Motions.
And it's right before Postpone Indefinitely. So right before that tab.
Towards the back, then, of the section. Because there's Postpone Indefinitely. Let me look backwards.
Yeah, it's a couple pages before Postpone.
Motion to adopt to ratify. Motion to ratify.
Right before that.
Format. Back up the bus. Previous notion. Okay, here we go.
Okay. Now I don't know if it's worded the same here, but
for anybody following along on the 11th, this is page 121, line 20.
Okay, so I'm going to read what it says here, and we'll see if it's the same there. But it says in the second sentence after previous notice of motions, it says a requirement of previous notice. Is yours okay? Means that announcement that the motion will be introduced, indicating its exact content as described below. Must be included in the call of the meeting, reference and references, at which the motion will be brought up, or as a permissible alternative, if no more than a quarterly time interval will have elapsed since the preceding meeting, the announcement must be made at the preceding meeting.
Yeah, okay. It's the same here.
Okay. Now, here, I looked this up because I wanted to know, because it actually had to do with the LPCO bylaws. I don't know if you saw where they were proposing a change from formal language to exact language.
No, I hadn't seen that one. That's not saying much.
For scope of notice for bylaws amendment, we had said that the member or whatever had to submit the formal language.
Yeah.
They changed that to exact. There's a big difference between the two. Exact, if you omit a "the" from it, it's no longer the exact language.
Then you can throw it out.
Right, and I read here and it says, it's exact content as described below. So I was like, okay, where is that described below? If you go over to 1047 here, which starts with if previous notice is given at a meeting.
Okay, that's on 122 at line 19.
Yeah. So it says if previous notice is given at a meeting, it can be given orally. Unless the rules of the organization require it to be in writing, which is often the case with notice of amendments to bylaws.
And as a matter of course, it's better to do it in writing anyway.
Right. But it says, unless the rules require the full text of the motion, resolution, or bylaw amendment to be submitted in the notice, only the purport need to be indicated. But such a statement of purport must be accurate and complete. So it just needs to give you the idea. It doesn't have to be the exact language if previous notice is given at a meeting.
Okay.
But what about if it's not given at a meeting? What if it's given in time to be included, in writing to go with the call of the next meeting? Does it have to be, is it just the purport? or does it have to be the exact language? It doesn't say.
The notice becomes invalid if the motion is amended beyond the scope of the notice.
Right. Well, that we knew.
Right.
Here it deals with, instead of being given at a meeting, a notice can be sent to every member with the call of the meeting at which the matter is to, it's right before motion to adopt.
Yeah, it's 123 to 35
Yeah.
going over next page, yeah.
So it basically says it can be included with the call of the meeting.
Right.
But in there, it doesn't say, is it the exact language? Is it the purport? Because the first paragraph says, as described below, but the only place it's described below is when previous notice is given at a meeting.
Right.
It doesn't say
What
how.
happens if no notice is given?
Well, no. Notice has to be given.
Yeah.
But
okay.
what I want to know, is it the exact language or is it substantially the purported language?
With the notice.
With the notice.
Yeah.
At a meeting, it's clear. It doesn't have to be exact.
Right.
But what about when it's at the meeting?
Before a meeting.
Right.
Yeah.
It doesn't say. And Richard Brown weighed in and said, well, you're right. It's unclear, but I don't really see how you could interpret it to be the exact language since it says it's described below, and the only place it's described below says purport.
Right.
Then Joshua Katz came in and said, no, I've always interpreted that exactly the opposite.
And here comes the controversy.
And both people were like, but you're right. It really is susceptible of two reasonable explanations.
Mm-hmm.
And when you're dealing with bylaws amendment, that can become very important.
Extremely important, yes.
So, in the situation I was looking at it for the bylaws amendment and then also something for the LNC. So, I'm going to oppose, by the way, exact being in our bylaws like that. Because again, if you misplace a word, that's...
Well, not only that, but doesn't the idea of using exact versus, what was the other term? Formal, also create a scoping issue. Because if the exact wording is there versus the formal wording, then the minute they, as Stephen said here, is if they amend it past the
notice?
Past note, if they amend it beyond the scope of the notice, right, and if the scope is exact, doesn't that make the whole thing get thrown in the cattywampus?
I don't think so, because you can always go below the scope. Like the example they gave of raise the dues to $20.
Right.
You could amend it to raise the dues to 10, but you couldn't amend it to raise the dues to 30.
Right.
You
or
could
add a surcharge. Yeah.
Right. You could go below and not above.
Right.
I don't think it matters for that, but formal was set in there for a reason, of course.
Yeah. Anyway.
Okay,
yeah,
but that's...
Because I guess what I'm getting at here is the question of what's the nature of formal versus exact in terms of what the scope of the proposal is and notice. That's the
and formal might not even be the right word either.
Well, okay, let's make our terms straight. When you say formal, what do you
mean is, it doesn't have to be exact, but it's a statement of intent. It's substantively exact. Like the substance is exactly it. The wording might be a little different, but what you're trying to do is detailed out. So there's no surprise. Like what we put in
for a bylaws proposal, we put in the problem solution sections. What might qualify as formal then, or
the solution would be.
Yeah,
that would be because
versus exact, which is saying amend section whatever it is to do exactly this. Because normally we include both anyway.
Yeah, we do, but
cover all bases.
An unsophisticated member might not.
Yeah.
So formal might not even be the right word. That's how I understand it, but that might not be a term of art.
Because as a rule of thumb, we tend to include both, just because we try to explain it in I'm going to use the term lay terms. In terms of what we're trying to accomplish, and then we put in the technical terms of what actually is going to look like.
Right.
That way, everybody has the full picture in front of them.
And exact can run into a lot of problems.
Right.
So, I'll try to come up with a better word than maybe formal. But whatever. That's why I looked it up. So,
was it just Richard Brown and Josh Katz who weighed in, or others?
Well, then JJ, our friend, weighed in and said, "I agree with my colleagues." And Joshua said, "Which one of us?"
Talk about taking a principled stance right in the middle.
Yeah, I don't know if anyone else has since weighed in because my phone is recording, so I can't look it up. But and I didn't put "do not disturb" on. Oh well, if Twitter interrupts, it interrupts. And I said before recording,
if it interrupts, where it will show up?
Up at the top, there'll be a little notification and a beep.
Beep.
Now watch. Anybody who's watching this, my friend's going to go on Twitter now and start messaging.
Right.
Don't blow up my don't. Yeah, cult is a strong word. TJ.
Yes, it is.
Okay.
And we wear it with pride.
We do. We wear it with pride. So, yeah. So you see, that is, they got to clarify that.
Yes, we wear it with pride.
In the next one.
Okay.
That is an issue.
Yeah. But the wording in there is the same as the wording in here.
Right, and it's bad. Yeah. But yeah, they were puzzled. So I think Mr. Hahnemann's gonna have to be nice to me now.
You hope.
I hope. No, I like him being saucy. All right.
Well, if he's being saucy, he's a stir of sauce sometimes.
Oh my God, no dad jokes. They're prohibited.
That's not a dad joke. That's a play on words.
No, it's bad. It's bad. All right. Are you ready now?
I didn't make any basting jokes.
Fever! Let's hear the opposition side. Like a stubborn donkey's bray. All opposed? You say nay. Opposed! Opposed! The motion carries anyway.